is Into the Pit. I'm Dan Cartwright, your host from Pure Metal of God. I'm here with TJ from the Boneyard and Raphael from Blackthorn Halo. How are you doing, Raphael?
What's up, guys?
So, I was telling TJ, when you guys were doing the show with the Piston Razors, but I was telling him about you guys from when we were at the Piston Razors show because I heard Kill the Pain, which caught my attention. And then I started doing some more research on the group with the Horde. And then I saw that you did a Testament song, Disciple of the Watch. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Hold on.
They were a big band for me when I was young, man. My cousin introduced me to Testament.
Dude,
Well, that's cool. I'll be looking forward to hearing the remix, or I guess the cover, right? Like,
Yeah, we covered Disciples of the Watch from Testament. And
that was a pretty badass jam. I mean, seriously.
appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, we're all fans of that old school Bay Area thrash.
No, it suits you guys, especially on the Kill the Pain, where you actually kind of stepped out of your element on that one, and you guys were doing kind of like a Wasp rendition, but heavier. When me and you spoke that night over there at the Pits and Razors show.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Old school thrash and the heavy rock. Wasp, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, of course. All the old school.
So, when you did the Horde, let's talk a little bit more in depth on that because the Horde has some interesting elements in it. I mean, how did it lead up to you guys creating the album and going from there, Raphael?
Yeah, just everybody had their input. We had a couple of extra members that we no longer have anymore, unfortunately. But those guys really brought it to the table. And of course, the original old school, drummer Eric Mulero and Craig Leach, those guys are, irreplaceable. And everybody just brought something to the table, and it just worked. It was amazing. Yeah, it was, it's one of those when all the planets align, and we spent a lot of money on the recording. That was Kevin Gutierrez from I think it was on Straight Line Studios or something, and he charges a little bit more than other people. So, but it was definitely worth it because once we finished the mastering and started shooting videos, people, people were noticing like, hey man, this is the real deal. And I was like, oh, I appreciate it. And not only Kevin Gutierrez, but Steve Miller, which is the guy shooting video, and he had the drones and all that other good stuff. And it just worked. It just came out, and everybody loved it. Of course we did. So, but yeah, good stuff.
No, it was a really great when I was listening to the Horde.
then they're like,
When you were doing the intro to the Horde, it was really interesting. Speaking of that, Raphael, I mean, who came up with the idea for the intro to it?
So again, we're old school, Testament, you know, Testament fans, and we kind of, I wouldn't say stole their idea, but yeah, it was a spinoff. So when Testament wrote Disciples of the Watch, I don't know if you guys know, but that song is about the movie, the Stephen King movie, Children of the Corn. And the Horde is a spinoff from, have you ever seen the movie Split?
oh yes. My sister's a big old school movie fan like that. She was always showing me the best stuff growing up, man.
I've
Evil
never
Dead
even
and
seen
Spit,
it.
it's good, man. You got to.
So we watched we watched the movie Split, and he has like, I don't know, 12 different personalities. You know, one minute he's a little kid, the other minute he's a woman, the other minute he's, you know, he's just multiple personalities. But his doctor talking to him was saying what he has inside his mind is the Horde. And again, you know, it was a spinoff from the movie. So I told the guys, I said, "Hey, are you guys cool with calling this CD the Horde?" And they're like, "Yeah, no, it's cool." Yeah, if you go back and listen and read the lyrics, you'll get it.
Tell you what
And
I'm gonna do, Raphael.
when you get
If
a minute, when you get a minute, watch the movie Split, and then you'll understand.
They keep calling us the Horde. The others, you know. Now, we're not perfect, but we don't deserve to be ridiculed. We're all struggling. They have to admit that.
Let's get into Deadline real quick. Let's talk about Deadline.
Okay.
So, how did that one come about, and what was the little secrets to working on that track?
Okay. Deadline's another. So what I always tell everybody about myself and lyrics is all I am is a heavy metal news reporter. And if I'm not writing about stuff, that's on the news or, information, then I'm writing about personal experiences. For example, the CD Deadline, there's a song on there called Staples and Road Rash. And I used to have a Fat Boy Screaming Eagle, and somebody drove me off the road and they didn't stop. So yeah, again, the song is called, yeah, totaled my bike. The song is called Staples and Road Rash because I was covered. I mean, my whole body. In my right elbow, I had staples. Probably like 9 or 10 where the bone was hanging out. Again, covered in road rash. The side of my helmet, thank God I was wearing one, was just, grinded down. And then road rash all down my legs. And at the very end, I broke my ankle and about 4 or 5 bones in my foot. And the actual song Deadline was when, I don't know if you guys remember, but they started talking about military, and I think people in Sweden that they're supposedly in the future, or they're already doing it. People are volunteering, but they're getting the microchips inserted in their hand. And a good friend of ours, I'm sure you probably heard of him. His name is Jason McMasters. Plays in a bunch of bands here in Austin. Didn't really have like a sit down and talk to him, but I always asked him. I said, how do you get your lyrics and your concepts? And he goes, man, he said, I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes, I find the scariest shit out there, on the news, and I just extract, topics, and that's what I write about. So I again, a spin off from him, I got his idea, and
So
the
he's
song
your, so he's your mentor in a way.
Jason McMaster. Oh yeah. I've learned a lot from that dude, man. I've told him to his face. I said, hey man, I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I've come to some of your gigs, and I see, because there's a lot of people that, do things and they give the illusion, and like, how is he so good? Why does he tour the world and, so badass? And, I've just gone to his gigs and I've studied him. And, there's been times where I've pulled him to the side and I said, hey man, I just want you to know, this is a move straight out of your book, and I hope you don't mind, but I'm using it. He goes, no, absolutely not. And he goes, however I can help you be a better front man, or, give the illusion that, you're doing something great, it's gold. So I was like, wow. So yeah, there's been a few things that I've studied and learned from Mr. McMasters.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
You know Ian Moore, right?
I know Ian Moore.
Yeah, I met him back in the 90s when I first broke out in the music scene. Me and him had that same concept and we were trying to create a story in our music. We kept on rewriting the lyrics and rewriting them and all that. So next time that you talk to Ian, I doubt he's going to be in El Paso, Texas, and he told me to tell you what's up if you know.
Yeah, and don't forget, a lot of times after I write lyrics, I make sure the guys in the band, they have to approve first, because if they're not down with what I'm, the topics, what I'm talking about, what I'm writing about, then it gets 86'd immediately, and we'll just start over. And I'll even tell them, I'll say, hey, read all these lyrics. This is what I'm saying. If you guys want to delete or add, anything, I'm cool with it, man. I'm 100%. Again, I'll never put anything out unless the guys give it the thumbs up first.
No, that's cool. I mean, that's the way it should be. I mean, all the band members should participate on what we're each writing, just like you have an input on when they write a riff and a
Mhm.
certain section that doesn't appeal to you, you're going to tell them, hey, I think you should work on that a little bit more. It's just natural.
Yeah, and we all agree, it's nothing bad. It's, constructive criticism, you know what I mean? We're all
No,
we're all on the same team.
yeah.
Uh,
Now, generally, do you come up with the lyrics first, or is it kind of they throw a riff and then the lyric pops in your head, or you come to them and here's my lyrics, write a riff to this, or
No, I'm constantly writing lyrics,
always,
and
eh?
and, and I'll tell them, I said, hey, I'm ready whenever you guys are.
They're
Throw,
trying to keep up with you with the riffs,
sometimes it's the other way around. I'm trying to keep up with them too.
Uh,
I'll give you one credit though, Raphael. I mean, I seen you guys perform with the Piston Razors. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a big crowd or a small crowd. You're 110%. You and the band are giving it your all.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so let's talk about a few of the bands that you guys have opened up for in tours and all that. I know you got a touring schedule coming up in a few months. Am I right? You got some more shows lined up?
Yeah, I think we got a couple of gigs in South Texas, and then we're booking some more here in Austin and San Antonio.
oh, nice.
Uh,
I guess this fall you're saying, or
In July, I think we're going down to like Victoria, Texas.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now TJ's got a venue over there in
Yeah, I'm out of actually Ontario, Canada.
yeah. So he should you should get with him later on and try
For
and get
what
it.
venue?
We have our own little venue. A buddy of mine has some land, so he's been building it up. We've got a whole lot of campers that come in every year now. It's technically what it's like a slash campground, but there's a couple hundred acres. So we've been slowly building up, having bigger, more bands. Now we're on to a 3 day festival where we do lots of food. We do 5 bands the first night, right? A couple bands the second, karaoke. Then we do the one in Maine. We usually have 5 bands for that show. That's done in October. That's always a fun one because we do it on for Halloween, and then we make the concert a theme. So you get a discount if you come in costume, right? And we'll do like an 80s theme or a movies theme, right? That's
Yeah,
always a
cool.
blast, right? I'm trying to break down in the States here. That's how Pure Metal of the Gods and I got together, actually.
Well,
Okay.
well, I mean, I got more connections, like going out, like in Mexico. I know a bunch of promoters there, and also
Hmm.
in Asia and all that. So, I dabble in a little bit of everything. So that's like a totally different entity there. But
Yeah, we'd
he's
love we'd love to do a gig in Mexico or.
Yeah, get
uh,
you guys up to Canada. That'd be
um
sick.
I got a few friends that are promoters that I can patch you into when they're doing the hell. One of them is hell hell promotions in Mexico City. Also Kill Sound Productions, where also I know a guy that does Knot Fest, Metal Fest. What was it? Let's talk about this last show that you did with Voivod and the Piston Razors. How did that go for you? And what was like different with the Voivod compared to the Piston Razors show?
Yeah, I apologize. Unfortunately, one of our guys had some family issues,
Mm.
and we were just unable to. We couldn't play that Voivod show.
Really?
Yeah, my good buddy there, Unfortunate Losers. Their drummer just had a family emergency. He's actually from Mexico, so
Mhm.
he had to fly home. They ended up missing out on the 2 shows back to back. when it comes to your family, the band's
Yeah.
your family, so their family's your family. So there's you can't avoid it.
No, we've always told our guys, if you have family issues, dude, go handle your business. Don't worry about the
Hmm.
band. We're gonna be here when you get back. When it comes to, your family, your wife, your parents, your kids, whatever, dude, go do what you got to do, and then don't
Hmm.
worry, the band's gonna be here. We'll be here waiting for you.
Well, that's killer. That's good though. Like
Oh yeah, absolutely.
so.
Well,
What are some of the things you look forward to when you do go on tour and go on the road?
We got really lucky last October. We went to San Antonio and we opened for Accept,
Oh,
so that was cool. And then this time last year in 22, I think it was like April, we were in Austin and we opened for Destruction.
oh, nice.
Yeah, all the way from Germany. So
yeah, but you see, you guys are actually getting well known where you're getting picked up by the other bands. So, what's the secret that Blackthorn Halo is doing to get noticed by these bands and open for them?
man, in all honesty, all I can say is just keep playing. That's I always talk to our guys and I'm like, hey man, there's no reason. I've talked to other professional bands and they've told me like there's no reason for your band to ever break up. If somebody's having some serious issues, take 6 months or a year off, and when they're
Hmm.
ready, they'll come back. And that's just I guess heavy metal 101. Just keep it going as long as you can. It's and
Well,
yeah,
one thing I've really noticed since starting the podcast quite a few years back and focusing on the metal scene. I've always been a metalhead since I was a kid, but it's a family almost. No matter where you go in the world, whether you're on the stage or in the pit, you're all there for the same reasons. Everyone helps each other up for the most part.
absolutely.
Yeah, being in the group, it's like a marriage. It's a different type of marriage and a relationship, but it really
Mhm.
is. Um, Let me ask you this: when it comes down to promoting and your image, who's who's helping you design that, and who how are you getting it, or is it a group collective? On what you guys decide for promotions and who you're going to.
No, it's as far as like booking and stuff like that, we pretty much do it ourselves.
Pretty well straight up independent band then.
Yeah, we're not. We've had some labels reached out, and I think they sent one of the guys, a contract, but we all read it, and it just
Hmm.
wasn't worth it. It
Well, do
was
you
gonna turn
find?
it
Oh,
was gonna turn into us just straight up giving them money. Just
hmm,
give us your money for you
yeah.
know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
that's typically how a record label works. They advance you the money, and to make the album, let's say if it's $20,000, they expect you to do that on artwork, production, the studio, and you have a little money left over for you to live. And then when they make the CD, they're promoting it, and then it's like, oh wait, we already gave you an advance. Now we need to recuperate all our money.
hmm.
So is that how was the deal going for you, or what?
Yeah, well, like I said, Craig and Eric, you know, looked it over, and then we did, and we just all decided, like, you know what, we can do all this on our own. There's not,
Uh,
you know,
Yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of one of the advantages to the internet and everything nowadays is that you guys are able to do this by yourselves. Uh,
yeah, absolutely.
and it gives us more freedom as the artists to not be interfered by they don't like you saying these words, say the record company and your CD's got to sound like this. You have that total freedom to make it your
Right.
way in that sense. and it becomes more, it's more real music in that sense. You're not diluted by the money and the fame of it all. That comes in time, you know.
Yeah, the one thing I love about like Craig's our guitarist and Eric's our drummer, but you know, we'll pitch an idea and they'll just straight up tell you like, dude, that's lame. We're not doing it.
That's
And
good.
that
You
and
need
that's
people like that, right?
and that's cool though, because you know, we're all saying it like we're fans, you know, of our own stuff. And not to
Hmm.
be arrogant or conceited or anything like that, but you know, they're just gonna straight up say, dude, that's lame. We're playing thrash metal so people can come out and have a good time. And you know, we always have been, and that's what we do. And you know,
Yeah,
no
but
excuses.
but
Yeah,
that's the way
regardless,
it needs
you're
to be
gonna
done.
do it.
Right,
Mhm.
right. And even in the writing, you know, like Eric will play something on the drums, Craig will play something on guitar, and you know, we're all brothers enough to say like, dude, you know, let's try this, or you know, don't play that, or you know what I mean, don't
Yeah.
yeah, don't don't
Don't
say
ever
those
play
words.
that again, you know.
Yeah, or they'll tell me, you know, don't say those words. Those you know, that shit is
Mm.
weak, and it's
It's
cool,
kind
you
of
know.
like, yeah, us at work. You do something weird at work, man, you're gonna hear about it all week long, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
But it
Hey,
makes you bring your A game, though. You know what I mean? It makes you
yeah, yeah,
take that
yeah. What
extra step and push you that much further to become that greater musician in that sense.
exactly, bro? And that's all it is. They're you know, once we get it worked out, they'll turn around and say, now you got it. You know what I mean? Now it's badass. And I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, okay, I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
by the way, I want to give a quick shout out to one of our other hosts that's not here. He's got some issues going on, and that's Sasco from Metal Madness Promotions. So if he's not a part of us, because right now he's got some family issues going on
Yeah.
in Europe.
Okay, yeah,
So
I'm sorry to hear that.
When he's back though, he's like you said earlier, he's welcome back. No problem at all. Like he never left, you know. So
yeah, so
Oh
we're
yeah,
gonna keep his logo and all that on the intro for Into the Pit, and yeah,
absolutely.
we'll still be promoting this on my YouTube,
oh, of course.
on Facebook, and on his website as well, and his fan page.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Let
by the
me go
and by
ahead.
the way, I didn't. By the way, I haven't introduced the guys, but yeah, we have
Oh,
a we have a Craig Leach on guitar, Eric Muller on drums, and we just got a new bass player. His name's Jimmy Knowles. But those are the guys that tear it up, man. And you know, it's an honor. It's an honor to grab the mic for them and throw down some killer thrash lyrics.
Yeah, he was there at the Piston Razors show. Am I right? You're in your
I
base?
think I think that was his second show with us,
Yeah, no,
and
he
we
was good.
and we've known Jimmy for years from other bands. But when we finally reached out and said like, "Hey, are you doing anything at all?" He goes, "No." I said, "You know, we all told him, do you want to come play for Blackthorn Halo?" He was like, "Hell yeah!" So yeah, yeah,
Speaking of
it's an honor and a privilege to have him. Yes,
like, speaking of you guys in Blackthorn Halo, how did you guys come up with the name? You know, it's kind of interesting.
it is. I grew up with a friend. He was my little brother, and since we were little kids, I think I was 5, 6 years old, and it's a funny story. You're gonna laugh. So, and this is like little kid shit from 1977 or somewhere around there. So back then, again, little kids, first grade, second grade, I had one of those little Fisher Price record players. And, you know, again, little kids, we didn't
I
know.
remember those.
So, so we're jamming out to, I think, something like Winnie the Pooh or something. And it just rocks, you know. Yeah, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger too. So my best friend, his name was Craig Avance. He came over with a brown paper bag and he said, check this out. He reaches in the bag and he pulls out a vinyl album and it's Kiss Alive. And I'm like, I didn't even hear it yet. And I was like, whoa, what is that? Like looking at the cover. Like, that's
Oh,
pretty
it
cool.
was all that monster makeup, space
Yeah.
star, Batman, demon.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
I was
then
like
he,
that too.
and then he put the record on, and the rest is history. So I grabbed all my toys and just threw them away. And we're jamming out to Kiss Alive, Black Sabbath.
There we go. Look.
There,
Yeah,
yeah,
there it
exactly.
is, right? Yeah.
So
It's
fast
so
forward. I'm sorry.
no, I was just gonna say it's so cool that it's always a friend of yours, no matter who you talk to, that brought you into the music, but you can never find the original friend that started the music, Like my buddy
Yeah. So,
AJ got me into metal. So
yeah. So fast forward. I don't think he made it. I think he was 38 or 39, and it just so happened, everybody does it. We all got mixed up in drugs and alcohol,
mhm.
and he just he turned out to be a chronic alcoholic, and through his 30s, it just escalated beyond to where he did get cirrhosis,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, and it was just beer. That's all he
Mhm.
drank was beer. He never did whiskey or drugs, just straight beer. And I think he was 39 years old. And again, tragic, sad. Dude was my little brother. And he
Puts
said, "You
things
know
in
what, man?
perspective at that point.
Yeah." And he said, "Man, you know what?" He said, "If I ever had a fucking heavy metal band, I would call it Blackthorn Halo." And I was like,
A
dude,
deep.
that sounds pretty cool, dude. I like it. It's got a hook to it. And
It does.
he was, yeah, he was on his deathbed, and he was dying from cirrhosis. And his mom was taking him to the hospital so they could, and I'm not exactly sure the medical, but they had to drain fluid because his liver was
Not yeah,
dying.
He
not
was on
processing, right?
dialysis. He was
Yeah.
on dialysis.
And before he passed, his name was Craig. I told him, "Hey, Craig, is it cool if I go ahead and borrow that name?" He's like, "Dude, you can have it, man." He's like, "Make it the
Wow.
best." He's like, "Make it the best thrash metal band you ever did." And I said, "Damn." It's like, damn straight, man. And we grew up together. Slayer and
Yeah,
Metallica and
the big
Pantera.
five,
And
right?
yeah, we went to a bunch of shows together, and just the nicest guy in the world, man. And yeah, he eventually passed away. And I told the guys, when we started this project, I said, "Hey, man, are y'all cool with this name?" And they said the same things, like, "Dude, that sounds kind of cool." And I was like, "Okay." And
But
I
it was a
I
great way
finally,
to honor him, though.
I finally told them the story, and I was like, "Dude, that's cool, man. That's
Yeah.
yeah." And every once in a while, I think about him, man. I can't help but shed a tear, and like, man, I wish he
Yeah.
was still here, man. He'd be proud of us. He'd be like, "Wow, you guys really did it, man." And it's a
Well, it's
sad
great.
story.
Every time you get on that stage, though, you honor him in that sense, and you give that best show and you do your best
Yeah,
for him in
absolutely.
that sense.
It's a sad story, but it's we celebrate him at the same time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question. Have you thought about writing a song about it, and that way, you can close out the night as a tribute to him.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, yeah. I'll definitely consider that and jot down some lyrics. Yeah, cool.
Awesome.
See, when my wife died and my son, I wrote two songs, one for her and one for him, and that was my way of closing out the end of the night.
Yeah,
Promises I Perish was written for my son, and also the other one was Rest in Peace and Shadows of Death. Shadows of Death was talking about the whole funeral for him, because can you imagine burying two loved ones?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
I
I'm sorry.
did on that. No, thank you, I appreciate that. But
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Yeah, wow.
that was
Yeah.
back in 19 no, in 2002. We were together for 6 years, but I was touring. I was up there in Europe when it happened, because I was away for Christmas, but I was going to be back for New Year's. And back then, you know, it was just kind of hard. You know, cell phones were becoming more popular, but the reception wasn't there and tracking us down. Our manager, he missed us like 4 times in certain spots that we were. And finally, he left a message at the hotel when they gave it to me. I was just like, dropped everything, didn't tell my road manager. He's all, hey, where the hell is he going? He's going straight to the airport, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, the family had to wait for me to come back and get to the hospital to actually make the decision to pull the cord on my wife, you know, and because she would have been a vegetable. She told me straight up she didn't want to live like that. So that's how I ended up writing Rest in Peace, you know, because that was the hardest thing that I had to do, you know.
But it goes to show the power of music, though. Like it's always there for you, and that's like it's always there for you. It's always it just helps so much and so many people. You know, it saves so many people's lives in the end. Like to hear that song or to hear the song he's about to write. You know, it's it's a game changer for so many people. It
Yeah,
gets
I don't
them
know.
through their hard
It
times.
is, it is, it really is. And I think this would be a great anthem to your friend and also to the band if you did something like that because you have a story behind it now in the song. You know,
I had I had been really lucky to meet some major, I wouldn't say idols, but yeah, that guys that I looked up to, and one of them that lives right, he actually lives right down the he lives right down the street from me right now. His name is Billy Milano.
I
He's a
know
front
that,
man.
man.
Yeah, he's a front man for MOD, SOD, and I've talked to him a few times, and you know I've sat down and had conversations with him, and it's one of those where you lean in and you look him in the eye and you give him a hug and say, "Hey, man, there was a time in my life when nothing was going right for me, and I was, you know, a young punk. I was on drugs and alcohol, and you know, I was really suicidal. But every time I played that cassette, SOD, Speak English or Die, I said, man, there's a reason to live, dude."
Hmm.
And I told him, I gave him a hug. I've told Billy this several times. I said that SOD cassette, Speak English or Die, saved my life multiple times, dude.
It's why
And
you're alive, right?
he just looked at me and said, "Dude, much respect, dude." And I
Yeah.
said, "I don't know." I said, "Billy, I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, but you know, I got to tell you, man. You know, good stuff. You know."
Hmm.
Oh, definitely. If you ever run into him again, tell him that I'd love to talk to him and get him on the show, you know, have you on here too, you know, so we can
Absolutely.
all give him a tribute because actually he paved the way for a lot of us. I was a big fan of their music. And
Mhm.
you know, speak English or die, you know. That says it all right there, you know.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
we've been really lucky with Billy. He was a manager at a he was a bouncer and a manager at one of the venues here downtown, and I just straight up. That's when he was doing MOD. I just straight up approached him. I said, "Hey, Billy, is it cool if Blackthorn Halo opens up for MOD?" He said, "Absolutely, dude."
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
that's awesome.
and that was a dream come true, man.
Okay. From there, I mean, you know, you guys have made your rounds, you know, and you guys are getting known. I mean, so what do you think is next, Raphael? What's the next project you and Blackthorn and Halo are going to be doing? And
Craig,
maybe,
Craig, Craig is writing new music.
all right,
I think
cool.
we have at least 2 or 3 new songs out.
Well, I know
So
you
I'm
played
excited.
one. I know you did play one over there at the Piston Razor show. Can we talk about that new song if you don't mind?
yeah, it's a song. It's called "I Am Hidden," and the lyrics are about, you know, people you can confide in and trust, and when you have a situation or an issue, you know, you can run to them, and you know they're just going to pick their wing up and say, you know, come on in. And you can spill your guts, or you know, be it a family member or a friend, or whatever, man. And
You're
yeah,
never
it's just good.
truly alone. There is
Right.
actually always somebody that will help you in that.
Exactly.
No, that's great. And music in today's age, the name of the group, the imagery. Who came up with the idea and the concept for, like, keeping a certain image to the group with that represents Blackthorn Halo?
I would say we all did. And the guy straight up said, hey, we play thrash metal. This is what works. So let's just stick to our roots, like, the old school Exodus, Pantera,
Come out in your
Megadeth.
combat shorts and your wife beater jersey
Exactly.
and rip out some riffs, baby.
Exactly. Yeah, camouflage shorts and black Converse.
Well, there's certain bands that can do that. Like I just had on last night, Charge My Brain with Cake, and they're a concept band, so they wear the makeup, they have all costumes and everything, but it goes with that music. Like you guys couldn't come out painted faces and play your thrash and just look weird, And it would,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
that was something we agreed on from day one. Like we're never gonna paint our faces or wear costumes. We're just gonna, the way we look is what you get. It's you know
But that's thrash music, like it's
right.
it's real and raw. This is it, baby. Come mosh with us, come into the
Exactly.
pit.
Now, don't get me wrong. If it's Halloween or New Year's Eve,
Of course,
then,
of course.
then yeah, we'll get retarded and
Yeah,
put something crazy on. Yeah.
yeah, of course. Right? Occasions, special occasions like that.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah,
So,
it's like our Halloween show. We always encourage everyone for that one, dress up, But
okay, how are you guys gonna approach this new album that you guys are gonna be working on? Are you guys gonna go with single releases, or are you gonna do a full length album release, eventually?
I've mentioned to the guys, because every time we did a recording, they want to do no more or no less than 8 songs. Deadline has 8 songs. The Horde has 8 songs. And I mentioned to the guys, I said, man, I don't see an issue with recording 6 or 4 songs. It doesn't bother me, but we're still tossing that up in the air. And at the same time, whatever they decide, I have to agree with, because this it's their band. I'm just a cheerleader. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, like, not to be rude, but as a singer, you've got to bring a lot to the front as you're singing in that sense. So everyone expects the lead singer, like, to be just crushing it out, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think here's the deal. In any band, you need to have a front man. So if things go
Yeah,
bad, it's easy to blame the front man,
right,
the drummer.
100%, right?
No,
Yeah.
I'm joking, Raphael. But I mean, honestly, it's because the audience relates to the front man when he's carrying the whole music. And then when that solo comes in, it goes to that lead guitarist. He has to carry when you're not singing.
Absolutely.
And so you already know at this point you're a great frontman, because, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're playing in front of 20 people to 1,000 people. You can carry the show because I've seen you do it.
Yeah, they're gonna get the same show. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 or 20 people. Yeah, they're gonna get the same show. Right.
My good buddy there, he says
And
his best show he ever played was in front of 20 people, but that was the best they ever sounded live,
but you see, it doesn't matter that about the best how they sound live. It's that energy that you give. And I've seen Raphael and Blackthorn Halo. If you haven't seen them yet, you need to go.
I will. I will this year.
You need to find a way to get down. Check out these guys live. I mean, even that one song that I recorded doesn't capture what you're seeing there, on video. It doesn't capture it. You got to
Mhm.
actually go and sit there and go through it. Yeah, even though I was running around, Raphael, and you know this, I was running around that night, going with all the bands trying to do the interviews, um, and all this. But I did capture three or four songs that you guys did, and I know what you were presenting, and I'm not going to say that.
Like I could listen to the music 1,000 times. It's always going to sound great on CD because you went to the studio and stuff. It's when I see them live that it really sticks in my brain. So now that when I listen to the music
Exactly.
again, I see this live show now, and I get even more energized when the show is exciting and you're in the face, and the guitar player comes in the crowd. Like that's
Yeah, exactly. And so when you actually see Raphael and Craig and the other guys in there, I mean, you're seeing them all give you 120% at that moment, and which
mhm.
which is really unique because you know I hear you on audio on YouTube or Spotify. You sound completely different live. You kind of remind me more of Accept, the vocalist live. You know that, Raphael?
No, thank you. I appreciate that. That
You're very
that means
welcome.
that means a lot. And again, last October of 22, we opened for Accept in San Antonio.
Oh, that's right. You were saying that
So
earlier. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
But this is the part where a lot of people don't realize this. When you hear the studio version, yeah, he's got
it's
that
good, of
grit and
course.
all that, but live, he's he's got a
It's a
totally
whole
different.
nother level.
Yeah, it's another level that he's pushing out, and it's like I said, he kind of reminded me of the vocalist from Accept. And then when you did the reminiscence, the reversion of Testament, I mean, damn, dude, I was like, holy shit, man. I was like, am I listening to Testament or am I listening to, so I mean, I'm giving you props, Ralph.
Yeah, I
Straight
appreciate it.
up, you know,
Thank you.
no, you're very welcome. And actually, you guys have made it onto my playlist, and that's why I brought you back on to Into the Pit. You became a friend the day that we met, and you know what? By the way, thank you for the shirt. And
I was gonna
uh,
ask actually.
uh,
Merchandise, man. That's one thing I always gotta know. I always like to buy a T-shirt or a CD or a vinyl is my favorite.
it was funny with Raphael. After we got done doing the interview, he was about to leave. He comes running back to me. He's all, "Look, man, this is the only shirt I got," and I wasn't even asking for a shirt, and I thank you for it. And he's all, "No, it's a 2XL." I'm all, "It's not gonna fit." "No, yeah, it's gonna fit." And he puts it right on me, and like, he's all, "You see, it fits you good." And I'm not wearing it
Nice.
today, because it's being washed. But
Wore it all week.
yeah, practically. By the way, I do got your sticker, so
Oh,
it sits up here in my display area. So, when I'm doing interviews, your stuff is there. I wish I had a CD so I can prop up there. I want to put it right here.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can send you a couple of CDs.
So this is my display case. If you notice, got Superman, I got my dragons.
yeah.
This one kind of resembles you guys on there, man, but it's not. This is a CD that I made with 20 bands from around the world, and it's
Wow,
called
eh?
Apocalyptic Chaos. Um, you know,
Check it
but
out.
yeah, whoever's interested, and reach out to me, and I'm giving away a couple CDs. So if Blackthorn Halo wants to give out some CDs down in the future, hit me up, and Raphael, send them to me and I'll send them out to people, Raphael.
Cool.
Yeah, or if you want, just give me your cover and send me all the wave tracks, and
That was
because I actually can print out some promotional CDs for you, and we can put Into the Pit right on here, or Pure Metal Gods, or the Boneyard on the side for promotional work for you.
Cool, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. I mean, you're a friend, so
Now, with getting into the artwork and the merch, with the artwork, did you sub that out, and then someone brought you a few things, and you're like, I like this one, or did you guys
Yeah, yeah, we found some
in-source them?
artists. Yeah, we found some artists that they had done some cool stuff in the past, and we just straight up described what we wanted, and they
Yeah,
came back with it. Like the cover for Deadline is pretty cool, and then the cover for the Horde is pretty cool.
that's cool, man. Like, yeah, that's always some of the hardest part because sometimes when you're flipping through, it's the artwork that grabs you right away. Like as you said
Yeah.
with the Kiss album, right? So picking the artwork is also a very important part of it, you know.
Oh yeah. And that again, I run it by the guys first because they got to
Of
like
course,
it
man.
before, and they got to like it before anybody else. So
well,
Mhm.
you
same thing.
gotta remember, Raphael, if you and the band are not gonna like it because you were fans of somebody else, so you know what I'm talking about right here. If you all don't like it, who I'm not
Your
gonna like
fans
it.
are, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Where do you guys go record at? What studio is it again?
Again, we did the Horde with Kevin Gutierrez, but I'm not sure if the guys are going to want to go back because the guy that recorded Deadline has got his studio even like,
Oh,
yeah, he revved it up.
leveled up a bit,
Yeah.
eh?
And so that's what Craig was telling me. He goes, and the guy's name is Stuart Lawrence. He's also the guitarist for a band called Igniter.
Oh,
And
I know that name. I know Igniter, who they are.
that's another Jason McMaster's project. But anyway, Stuart Lawrence is the one that recorded Deadline. So Craig was telling me and Eric, he goes, hey, we should, when we get ready for the next one, we should go back to Stuart. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm gonna go wherever you tell me. So,
right.
yeah.
Well, it's good that you got two options. You can always bounce back and forth, you know. So,
But what about mastering? Who do you guys go for the mastering, or you kind of keep it with the same guy?
I think that's a Craig question. Craig Leach, our guitarist. He's always on top of that. And again,
mhm.
when we get to the very end, he goes, hey, I'm gonna send it over here for this guy to master it. I'm like, hey, dude, you've already
Mate,
knocked it out of the like you've
right.
already knocked it out of the park twice. So, send it wherever you're gonna send it.
You know who James Murphy is, former guitarist of Testament, Obituary, Death. And,
Absolutely.
well, he's got his own mastering studio. Let me know, and I'll get in contact with you guys if you guys are interested in having him master some of these stuff.
That would be an honor.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that would be pretty wild, actually.
well, if you go on my previous YouTube, look for the Birth of Extreme Metal with Tony Dunlin and James Murphy. They were both on there. Gracious guest, giving me stories about, with Chuck from Death. Thank you, James. And but yeah, he's got his own mastering studio in Florida, and because he doesn't really tour anymore because of his health issues. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are looking for somebody in the old school era, well, James is perfect.
Absolutely.
Sterling as well down here in
Mhm.
Texas, and he did all the Panteras. So I mean, you got great options here in Texas. But I figured because I heard Blackthorn Halo, and I think personally, that would be something for them to look into in the future. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Hmm. I never did ask, but where exactly are you guys at? What's your location?
Well, I'm in Laredo, so
Okay.
I'm only about four hours from you, or three.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm about 4 days. I'm up in northern Ontario,
Oh
just north
wow.
of Toronto, basically, is an easy way to say it.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
so
yeah.
but that's the
So
music brings everyone together, and the cool part of we live in the age where we can video call each other and be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I love music. You love music. Let's talk about music, baby." you know.
And then
Rob,
you guys know I'm in Austin.
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
I know that from when I met you that night.
Okay.
So you met me when through the Pissing Razors, and they're all good friends of mine from El Paso when I used to live down there. But I started the magazine. I don't know if I told you the story that night, but I started the magazine back in November. And if you ever get a chance, Raphael, go to www.puremetalofgods.com. That'll pull up the magazine. You can see everyone that I interviewed, from Jeff Becerra to Pizzazz. Sorry, from Venomine to Exandria to God, there's quite a bit of bands on there. I can't remember them all. James Murphy, Tony Dunlin, and then I started the YouTube channel. So I'm still growing the YouTube channel, but the magazine's actually got a bigger following. But you already know that anytime that you break out of a certain thing, trying to grab them new followers because the magazine's in multiple language. You know what I mean?
See, that's where you have the advantage. I've been thinking about that with the new translating stuff they have, and getting my shows translated into, like, we're kind of worldwide ourselves with our fan base. We're scattered all over Germany, Japan, the Philippines, Mexico. But yeah, a lot of them, some of the complaints, my good friend in Venezuela is like, my friends can't listen to it. She's the only one that actually speaks and understands English. It's like we're missing such a new market, or such a bigger market, right?
Well, the thing is, I'm sorry, Raphael. The thing is, I mean, me and Raphael probably could speak Spanish. Do you speak Spanish, Raphael? I'm sure you do.
I'm not the best at it, pero sí hablamos español.
Okay, just for the segment, I'm just going to give a good example. ¿Cómo estás hoy? ¿Qué pasó con la fin de semana? Con la banda.
Nomás mucho trabajo.
Okay, TJ, did you understand any of that?
Not really, no.
Okay, you see, and por eso mismo razón, TJ no puede hablar español ni puedo entenderlo.
No,
pero,
no, señor.
Pero la cosa es, si sabes algo de YouTube, ahí tú puedes ponerlo en cap locks. Déjenme enseñar a ustedes.
I can say, cerveza, por favor.
There you go.
Mira.
Dos margaritas.
I'm going to do something. Aquí, tú miras la CC.
Oh,
ponelo en CC.
Prophecy.
Ponelo en CC. Y ahí vas a ponerlo en escrito en español para tú puedes leerlo. So, vas a escuchar todo en inglés en cuál país. Si nosotros están en ruso, va a leerlo en ruso. Si nosotros están en alemán, va a salir en alemán. Si está en francés, va a salir en francés. Si estás en México o en Sudamérica, va a estar ahí en español por ustedes en España. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Ahí está todo.
I didn't know I was gonna have to do like multiple languages for my research, man.
But you see, me and Raphael know this because we've been in the industry longer. It's, I learned by traveling all over the world.
Also, like the States up here, it's French. You're either going to learn French and English, and then down there you guys have your Spanish, right?
Well, we got multiple languages here in the United States.
Yeah, of course. Right?
But you see, the problem is when you go to another country and you're there for like 3 months and you want to eat, well, you got to learn
quick.
You learn quick.
Yeah.
This is the thing, yes, we feel more comfortable singing in our native language. That's why we talk in our native language. And, and people don't understand that we're here in the States, even though they're a big following and they love us, the metal that we share with them, the audience got to understand, some people cannot speak the multiple languages, and it would be a shame, and it'd be just, what's the word I'm looking for, Raphael, to speak in another language, insulting to TJ because he can't understand this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would love to learn, French Canadian or whatever.
Yeah, it's tricky, man. It's easier than English, they said, though. Like when I was learning it, but I haven't done it since school. But yeah, recently in the last couple of years, I've had to brush up on it because a lot of our bands coming out of Quebec there come on the show, and then it's sometimes I'll get a translator, and sometimes I just have my buddy come on and translate back and forth. But most of the times we get through it. It's not too bad, but
Yeah.
That might be a good idea, TJ, for next time. Why don't I ask one of my friends that are in South America if they would like to translate like the conversation with us, and it kind of promotes their band as well,
Mhm.
and
For sure.
it gives a new audience to the bands that we're having, like Blackthorn Halo, if they don't got a fan base in South America.
Well,
Kind of
now
helps
they
them
also
out.
get to hear the behind the scenes and the conversation. Like, I'll listen. Obviously, you got bands like Rammstein and Alien Weaponry and the Hun that don't, but their music's huge around the world, right? But
Oh yeah.
It's
they
funny.
can't.
It's funny.
It's
It's funny y'all bring this up because about a year ago we had an ad in a heavy metal magazine, and I want to say it was in Poland. I forget where, somewhere close to Germany, and the magazine was killer, dude. But when we got it back, it had images of our CD and us, but the words we didn't understand.
yeah, you have no clue
and
what
it,
they wrote.
and it was cool because I was like, this is an honor to be featured in this heavy metal mag, and they had bands like Testament and Judas Priest, and I was like, man, this is an honor to be in this magazine with all these heavy hitters. But it's even more cooler because I don't understand one word of it, but
No, right? That is
Well,
but it was
pretty cool, actually, to sit back and open a foreign magazine,
well, you
and there's
see,
your band and a whole write up and pictures, and that's got to be real cool to see.
and we saw the score. They give you whatever 9 out of 10 or
Hmm.
8 out of 10, and they straight up gave us 10 out of 10 for thrash metal. I
Wow,
was like, yeah.
oh no, that's good. I
I
mean,
was like, hell yeah.
I do the multiple languages on the website. Sometimes on certain bands I don't do them because it's just like they keep on going on, and I only have
Hmm.
limited resources for multiple languages. But when I do it for Israel, I do it for Philippines, I do it for Japan, I do it for
Hmm.
Germany, I do it for I think it's France as well. And
Yeah, I was gonna add that's actually happened to us twice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
We were in a magazine of different foreign language, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
oh, it's awesome. Let me know. I'll get you in contact with some other magazines that I know down in South America, and also um, I think the other one's in the Philippines. Let me know, and I'll talk to DJan for
Absolutely.
yeah, get
Hmm.
you guys out there a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, no
Yeah,
problem.
keep in touch, and I'll do the same up here if you're ever looking to branch up into Canada or Ontario.
Yeah, we'd love to play a heavy metal venue up there, but I mean, I wouldn't know where to start or where to book.
Start
Well,
with TJ.
yeah, start with me, and then we'll go from there.
Um,
See what happens, right?
Dead Man Prophecies played at a few of his venues and all that.
Yeah,
When are you gonna make your way down to Laredo, man?
I'm working on it, man. I'm working
No,
on
I'm
it.
talking to Raphael.
Oh, okay. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, Raphael. When are you gonna try and make your way down to Laredo for the next venue?
If you know some heavy metal venues down there, yeah, hook us up.
Yeah, I know one. Actually, even in Houston. I don't know. Do you know De La Muerte? From Houston.
Sounds familiar.
He's in Immortal Remains, and also what was his other band's name? Trying to remember his other band name, but he does I think it's he's got his own production company. I forgot the name of it in Houston. Um, but he was supposed to be on. Speaking of
Yeah.
George, he just finally joined us, De La Muerte.
Oh
I'm here
yeah.
with Raphael from Blackthorn Halo. We were just talking about
Yeah.
you and your production company over there in Houston as well.
What's up, George?
Oh man, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing, man?
Doing good,
Oh,
man.
you're
See ya.
driving, huh?
I'm a multitasker, man. That's what I do here.
He's being a pimp right now. Look at him.
Not even.
Hey, the music
Racer X.
industry is one of the only businesses where the rent's due every day, almost, man. You almost can't stop, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta put George. I gave him notice. I told him you better be on here today. Hey George, what's the guy's name that over here in Laredo, the promoter in Laredo?
Rick,
Rick.
Ricky,
Okay,
Rick. He's Rick Garza. Rick Garza's his name.
that's it.
He's a member of he's a founding member of Antisma. He's part of Evil Incarnate and what's that other band? Shit, I'm going blank.
It's a new one that he's got up in Chicago. I don't even know the name of it.
Oh, Mortuary, dude.
Yeah.
Mortuary.
oh, Mortuary. I've heard of those guys.
Yeah.
So I was telling Raphael he needs to make his way down here. He was telling me he doesn't know any promoters here, and I couldn't remember Rick's name. So there you go. I got his phone
Yeah.
number. I'll get him in contact, and George knows him as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
cool.
there's one thing Texas does not lack of is production companies, entertainment companies. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I just came across a flyer earlier today where there's Danzig and Behemoth are coming to Houston. It was like, what the hell?
Oh, Behemoth are good live. I've seen them
Yeah.
a couple times now, man. I enjoy their shows.
Yeah, that's a I was telling my girlfriend about it, and she goes, if there's any reason to go is to see Behemoth, they put on a badass show. I'm like, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, they're good.
Hey, George, let's talk about real quick a little bit of Immortal Remains. When did
Yeah.
you guys start out, and
Oh,
who came
man,
up with the name?
Man, the Immortal Remains started off like in, I want to say 98, 99. And then when I finally put the pieces of the puzzle together, it was a pretty cool ensemble to start off with John Sinclair, Nazario Santos, Pete Santos. The main foundation music came from Luis Martinez and myself and John and the guys I just mentioned. Immortal Remains, I came up with the name, man. It was kind of crazy. You know, it's like, it was a kind of a crazy vampiric era for me, reading a bunch of books that I just embraced as good old novelty, man. Reading, I don't know if you ever heard of the Book of Nod, or reading the Vampire Chronicles before they became what they are now, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking of us music in general, like, you know, and back in the day, I smoked a bunch of weed and drink a bunch of beer. The only thing that's changed is I don't smoke a bunch of weed anymore, you know.
Mhm.
You know, I just drink my 7 and 7 and smoke a cigarette. That's as good as it gets for me nowadays, you know. You know, when you think about music in general, what you're doing, where you're going, and at the end of it all, you know, your immortality is defined as by what you leave behind to your kids or for people that want to fucking remember you, you know. And the only thing that's gonna remain, you know, in our what we do is our music, you know. And your legacy will be defined by your music and by what you leave behind. That's all that's gonna remain. And I'm like, my immortality will be defined by what I leave behind to my kids or in the music, you know, industry, whatever, man. You know, so that's how I put the name together, you know.
So what I'm gonna do right now, we're gonna pause this, George. I'm gonna play Immortal Remains, the first track that I actually mixed and mastered for him, because he gave me a shitty recording and he needed a good fucking producer and master.
I just did the same to him a couple weeks ago. I just sent him a shitty recording of our stuff and fucking, here, man, fix this for me.
It's basically what I did, man. But
Yeah.
for the next couple
I
weeks.
got about 10 minutes left that I can be, and then I gotta go eat myself and all that. So.
That's fine. George is
Oh,
on
okay.
his
Just
way.
so you know, right?
George is
Yeah.
on his way to McDonald's, so he can pick us up some McDonald's.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
George?
Right.
It was actually Jack in a Box, dude. How did you know?
Oh,
George, I
We don't
know
have
you,
that up
brother. I
here.
know you. I know you, man. So come on.
Uh,
you're making cereal. I'm gonna make
All right.
cereal now.
Check this out. Check this out. George, tell him about the shitty recording that you sent me and Nate. And when I was at work, I couldn't do it because this what leads up to
Yeah,
Immortal
man.
Remains. Go ahead, tell him.
which one? The SCTA or the IR stuff?
No, the one where you sent for Nate to mix out me, you actually wanted me to mix it out, but I was at work and it was on a shitty recording, cassette player, whatever you had. Tell them how it led up from your other group.
That was the SCTA stuff, man. We did the recording on it was literally a rehearsal session. We did it in our practice room, and we had this little digital tape recorder nowadays that we get the just hit record in the middle of the room, and bam, it just records. And then for some reason, I don't know what. I mean, it sounded pretty cool. The song title to it was "The Dark Side Calls," and I sent it to. I sent it to him, to Dennis, and I was like, "Man, can you fix this audio sound?" He goes, "Which record? It's like a 4-track." I'm like, "It ain't no fucking 4-track. That's for damn sure." It's just a shitty fucking. It's like back in. It reminded me of back in the old school days when bands like myself, we didn't have no fucking money or didn't kind of comprehend to what a real recording was. But we would go find one of those old school fucking cassette tape recorders,
hit record.
hang it in the middle of the room, put a fucking light. Put up the lightest towel you could find on it as a filter and hit record on that fucker. And you know what? Back in the day, those were demos. Back in the day, man, who would have thought, dude? But that's basically what we did. And then I sent it to Dennis. I'm like, "Hey, man, can you master this shit and get some sound out of it?" He's like, "Man, how did y'all record it? It's like a 4-track. It's like a 4-track." I'm like, "No, it's not a 4-track, buddy. It's a fucking tape. It's a digital tape recorder." But yeah, that was the first thing I ever sent to him. He's like, and what they pulled out of it was pretty fucking impressive because the sound sounds like a fucking it's like a 4-track, 6-track, man.
Here's the part that no one knows. It's because I was working. I was nowhere near my studio, so I told him, "Look, I got my apprentice. He's learning from me, and I'll walk him how to do everything over the phone." Fucking, I walked him over the phone how to do all this shit over the phone. He sends it back to De La Muerte over here, George, and he's like, "Holy shit, dude, this was like a lot of work that you guys did." How did it come out, George?
Oh man, it sounds fucking incredible, man. For what they used, for what they pulled the sound out of. I mean,
the joys of driving, baby.
Yeah. Yeah,
I've had a few interviews where I've been driving, and then not long ago, my buddy there, he jumped on the show with me, and he's driving. I'm like, we could have waited, there was no time limit, but I know tonight we're on a time limit, so kudos to him for still trying to get in and spread the word,
Yeah, but it goes to show you what actual old school producers like myself know what.
So can you tell us about yourself and what you do and your name and the group?
Yeah, well, I'm Johnny and bass and vocals. Yeah, that's it.
And what about Andreas over here? He's quiet.
Yeah, I'm Andres and I play drums.
Okay, cool. And here's the second question. Before you guys got into the music industry, what were you doing for work prior?
Well, that's like in the 80s, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Well, you first, Andrew.
I mean, I was 16, I guess, when I started, but I was working. I was because I left school. I was working. I was a printer's apprentice, I think, for a couple of years before we started touring. But yeah, I was just got out of ninth grade or whatever when we started the band. 16 years old, and then I was working out of school. But yeah, then I quit because metal, That's it.
Wow. That's very impressive. That young.
Yeah. I was young. It was a
What about
strange
you?
grow up.
What about you, Johnny?
Well, I was at some kind of warehouse and with like working vegetables and fruits and stuff. I was a truck driver, and well, I guess I'm guilty of kidnapping Anders and some of the other guys, I guess. But we when we started this, we just well, our plan was obviously to play more music, instead of going to a 9-to-5 job, and that's what we wanted to do. So I guess we came from different works and different occupations, all of us. Just got together and said, well, man, this is what we want to do. So
Okay, cool. Well, I remember when we first met back in 1991, and we were talking at Club 101 when you guys played in El Paso.
right.
And me and you were sitting down right next to each other, and then when I asked you, I mean, were you ever on your vocal structure? And I think you stated something to me that you didn't want to sound like a pussy, so you made it more aggressive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that, but that's what you said.
Not really, but you mean what exactly do you mean? Oh, you mean the vocals?
Yeah, developing your style.
Right. Oh, I think we just I mean we all sat down and said we want to be a death metal act, a live act. And we want to do this as dark and aggressive as you possibly can do it. But you got to look at it in a perspective of 30 years ago. And and I think we did what we said we'd do, actually. I mean, I don't think I think we got around to we sat down and said, okay, this is what we're going to do, and I think we actually delivered. I guess other people have to be the judge of that, but I think we did just that. So I'm happy with that still.
Oh, well, I know you guys delivered. I mean, and this is the other question. On your first album, on No Life to Dwells, I mean, you guys came out with that album. Were you expecting it to go where it went with the group and continue on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we had a set of expectations other than that we wanted to go out on tour and bang heads. I think that's our expectations, I guess. What do you say, Anders? I think that's what we talked about way back then, and that's actually what happened too. So
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any possible way of expecting anything back then because it was so new and a small genre and whatever. So you couldn't really, we got signed, we put an album out, and that's, I guess, kind of we had to take it at the moment. Maybe there was maybe a plan for later, but you don't know. At the time, you're just like, fuck it, I'm going out on tour.
yeah,
I'm going out with cool bands that we liked, and it was just it was more like at that time, I guess, it was like a party. We had a good time. We were not home working. We were on tour with friends, and that was it at the moment. At least for me, there was no tomorrow for me in those days. It was just like, let's go, But
yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I was young, 16, 17 years old. There's no future when you're a teenager and you get to do those things. I wasn't thinking. I'm sure Johnny had a bigger plan than I did. I was just going for it.
Well,
Very
let's just say I totally agree with that. I don't think the plan was anything more than just keep on going. I mean, and it still is. I think we, like you just said, our plan was to get out there, bang heads, drink beer, and meet some friends, man. But if you want to have another perspective of the side of a longer plan, well, the longer plan was to keep on the track, keep on doing it, and not really do this for 3 years and have a good time and then go home and go to work again. That was never a plan, and it still isn't. So,
Well, now this goes back to your to that same question. Once you guys got your recording contract, what changed in your lives, and for the better or for the worse, in the music industry?
Well, like everything, I guess. It's well, see, that's the business side of things that I guess nobody in that age is really prepared for. I mean, you have to deal with it. I wish I would have been like 28 when that offer came. On the other hand, it would have been too late. But I guess because you're never really prepared if you're a teenager and for that type of business, you're not really prepared for that. You may have a good idea about things, but you can't really handle it in a professional way. But I think we did what we could do, and if we would have been between 17 and 21 again, we would probably have done the same thing. So what we did was it kept us on track, and it kept us going on tour. It kept us recording albums, and so no regrets, man. No regrets.
Oh, cool. Andreas, you got anything you want to add to it?
Yeah, but this is, of course, I mean, we got, when you sign a record deal when you're young or whatever. I mean, I signed the first contract. I was underage. I was under 18 when I signed our first record deal, whatever. So I basically signed away, and that first deal was not a very good deal, So obviously, because they knew, sign this, yeah, fuck yeah, give me a beer, It's you sign away a lot of rights, which maybe you would have thought about later. But for me, I was 17. I'll sign whatever. I'm going on tour or whatever. But this was probably not a good move because, yeah, it took a long time, I guess, to get out of those bad deals or whatever. But then, yeah, like he was saying, and at that time, there was no other. I think we even talked to some lawyer or whatever, and this guy was like, "Oh, that looks fine. Sign it, whatever." But of course, he was a Swedish guy and it was an English. And he'd never seen anything like that, so he just said, "Looks good," and he was, of course, dead wrong. It was a shitty deal, But we tried. But yeah,
right.
But at the moment it's what you could do. There's no. So you gotta just live with that and deal with it. But it kept us going for a while anyway. Kept us doing what we wanted to do, so we did it. But of course, maybe business-wise, we could have done things differently in the beginning. But yeah, you live and learn.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's, you're young, you make mistakes, but at the end, you guys got to do something, get out of your country, see the world. That's all that matters.
I mean, exactly. At that time, of course, nobody was thinking about the business side of it. It's just we got out to do all these things, which was, of course, it was a great thing, a great opportunity.
Now, here's another good question. Also, when you guys were on tour, did you guys ever get ripped off from any promoters? Did you guys ever go hungry, being on tour, because you didn't get paid or anything like that?
Well, I guess, yeah, that happened, I guess. But not too much, I don't think. But I mean, back in the old days when the first tours, we were opening, usually the opening band and whatnot, and there was kind of nothing was in our control really, but I guess, but in Europe, I guess at least even in the beginning, you got treated fairly well, no matter what, Usually you got fed. Plus, it was kind of the labels. It's kind of there because the first tours they're in charge of kind of anyways. They just send you out on something. And I guess if you don't get fed, you're gonna blame them anyways. And I mean, we had some trouble in the beginning. They were giving us some cheap vehicles to drive, and they'd break down and all kinds of shit. There was a lot of weird stuff happened there. Cars fucking almost set on fire and doors falling off and all that kind of shit in the middle of the winter. But as far as the promoters, usually it's, I guess in the States there was some problems where we almost got held hostage for a while at some club and all some shit when there was a argument with the headliner band and the promoter at the venue, and there was gonna be the security was kind of locking us in and all kinds of shit. But there was like, yeah, but you're the opening band, you can go because the beef was with the other band or whatever. So we kind of got let out of that anyways. I don't know. There's never really been any big problems like that. We always kind of got fed. The showers we didn't get very much, but fed we got.
Right. And you, Johnny? Any
Well, I'd sign off on that right now. I mean, that's exactly what it was, man. I mean, but you just said at it like a few minutes ago. You said something very interesting, and that was, we wanted to get out in the world, you know, and you can do that in a number of different ways. But if you want safety, and if you want, like, you know, if you want to make money out of every fucking hour of work, or if you want to have, you know, safety all around you, and you want to have the kind of life that's going to give you some, you know, well, it just doesn't work that way. The music industry isn't built that way. And in the beginning, I think any band you would talk to will say the same thing. You want to get out there, you want to prove yourself, you want to play music, you want to meet your friends, and you want to play live, and you want to, and especially if you're a death metal act, you know, it's not really about sitting back and hope for things to come to you. That's not what it's about. You know, you want to get out there. And so even if we, like Andrew said, you know, we kind of knew that shit was going to come to the fan, you know, stuff is going to happen that you may not love, you know, we knew that. Sometimes I would have to say things happened that were a little over the top, to be honest, but well, that's how it is, you know. Those are the things that you make fun of today, that you can remember with some laughs, you know. But it's all good. It's all good. That's how it is, you know. No complaints.
all right. Now, this one's a good question right here. How do you guys feel about creating the genre that you guys created in Sweden and influence all these people all over the world? How does that make you all feel?
I don't know. I mean, this is the same. Nobody was aware that we were creating anything that would influence anybody else, kind of, in the way. We were influenced by other things. We did our thing, and then it's kind of, I didn't at least think I was going to be, years later, you're going to be having a bunch of people saying, well, you influenced us with this and that. It's not really why you do it, in a way, kind of. You do it for yourself, in a way. I mean, but of course, it's honorable and it's cool that people were influenced by you later on. But at the time, I always kind of felt that we were, you know, once we started touring, then you're out with, you know, we were out touring with bands that we were influenced by in the beginning, but then you kind of became your equal in a way, because you were out together. So in that case, I never thought about, once you started, there was no influence kind of on the outside. You did your thing. And those guys, because they were on my level, we were on the same level all of a sudden, like, you know, to me. So there wasn't, so then I couldn't really think that I was going to influence somebody else, because we were on the same level here, you know. This is, in my mind, I was like, I'm on tour with bands that I respect, but now they're my friends. So I can't really be impressed by them anymore. And then I can also think, why would they be impressed by me? Because we're all the same. You kind of live in that bubble there for a while. So to me, it's just kind of weird. But I mean, obviously afterwards you get the idea. Yeah, there's a bunch of bands that exist here because of us, in a way. You know, it's like this band or this band wouldn't exist if we hadn't played. And, you know, you gotta just, you know, I don't think about it too much, but I mean, it's honoring in a way, I guess, that somebody would like your shit enough to build their own life or career or whatever on stuff that you did, which is, it's cool, you know. But I don't know, nothing I think about on a daily basis, really. But it's, yeah, sometimes you get the question and you're like, I don't even think that. But it's something like this. It's just, yeah, you just got to be like honored about it, I guess, in a way.
And Johnny?
Oh, I was just going to say all that, but yeah, well, it's precisely that. In the early days, like Anders just said, in the early days, you don't think like that. You just think that this is going to be a hell of a time, man. And exactly that. I mean, we got out. I mean, we started to perform and play music and create music because we had our influences. And, you know, after a while, you know, after years passed by, I'd say, I mean, like not 1 or 2 or 3 years, but more like 10 or 15 years, you start to realize perhaps that there are other bands that are influenced by us, and that's obviously that's a fantastic feeling. I mean, you can't really deny that, but that's not something that you think of.
So basically, Torture is a band that started out in 1986. They were from El Paso, Texas, TJ. And what happened, they went to go make their album in the UK. They got signed to a record deal. And unfortunately, the group got into an argument, disagreements. They were kind of like their style was kind of power metal, thrash metal mixed with punk, okay? So
Wow.
really unique, okay? And basically, they get in this argument over there in the UK where they totally break up in the middle of or at the ending of making the album, okay?
Yeah.
So at this point, we're going to go ahead and play like 3 songs from the group Torture from El Paso, Texas.
I'm excited you were telling me about them there earlier before we did go on tonight, and then I'm excited to hear this actually. So let's get down to her, man. Let's jam out this tunes.
All right, so we're gonna let you guys hear a bit of Torture. So you heard the atmosphere growing until it builds up until the song kicks in, right?
Yeah, that's a cool riff. Like that intro, like guys, I was saying, it's that type of music that you can picture in your head when you hear it, like the mist coming across the grass, right?
Right. I mean,
creeping in, you know.
It has a unique vibe to this album. So basically, you know, it's really interesting how they were developing it. I need to see if I can get a hold of the band or a couple of the members from them.
Mm-hmm.
That way, bring them on into the pit and talk about a little bit of this.
Yeah.
But I mean, you hear the buildup and the way that eerie feeling was going. You know, it kind of reminded me of, like you said, an old film from earlier. You know.
Mm-hmm. Like the original Dracula, or
or the Wolfman.
Wolfman, yeah.
And so it gives you that horror vibe feel, but their style. I mean, how would you describe the style from what you're hearing right now?
Like even that intro riff, just how they start off. That's what I always like when I was a kid. That was metal right there for me, you know. It's just heavy. It's got that fast, but a tameable beat that you can feel. You just feel it. You go with it. You're like, yeah, I like this. Right? It's too bad they didn't, shit fell apart, or however you want to say that, right? And didn't complete the album, you know.
And if you listen to the structure, it's like there's an element in there that you don't hear in the bands of today.
No, there's a magic, a little piece of magic in that.
And I think this has all been the manufacturing of all the impurities, because this is old school recording. This album is actually on vinyl, and you're actually hearing the vinyl compared to the CD. But back in '86, CDs weren't even invented at the time.
No, right? That's so true. Like, yeah, they were still 80s, not, I guess it's around then that the transition from 8-track into tapes.
Well, right there, the album was recorded onto a reel-to-reel tape.
Yeah.
On a half-inch. So a lot of people don't know this. That's why that's there. This is one of the old school recording devices from back in the 60s, 50s. You would have like 8, 9 of these. One would be for the guitar, one would be for the vocals, for the bass, and then finally at the end, it would be actually, everything would be mixed out, channeling through a mixing board, set up your EQ, and then onto another tape mastering.
All right. That's crazy to think nowadays you just hit record and then
you're editing on the computer, so it's a little bit easier now.
Yeah,
but back
100%.
then, this right there is an artwork, because right here is one of my songs on reel to reel. And it's not much. This is after it was already edited and mastered and spliced. That's basically right there, 15 minutes of tape.
That's crazy though. That's cool that you have that though.
I mean, that's my first album right there. It's on reel to reel. So eventually what I'm going to do is put it on the reel, connect it to the mixing board and all that, transfer everything to data, and then kind of remaster the master.
Right?
But you see, a lot of people don't know this artwork. The newer generation have no idea how to do this. So
true, right?
When
like even my generation, a lot of guys don't even know how to use that at all. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So for the first time, people are seeing an old school technology that's an art form that's long gone. So I mean, when I say long gone, it's long gone.
Oh, it's been gone for
over
longer than I've been alive.
Yeah, for actually I want to say 1992 on up, it was phasing out.
Oh yeah.
And Metallica, when they did the Black Album, right? Remember, Lars was cutting and splicing his drums and saying, "Anyone to buy some loops?" And so that's where it came from. Loops were made off of old tapes, from sections that didn't make it into the album. You would get a white chalk, select the tape part, and cut.
Reprint together.
Yeah. Hold on. Gotta pause it. so on this Deadman prophecy that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
What I'm noticing, it's got that when it's doing the, it kind of reminds me of old school Motorhead, like on the game, you know?
Yeah.
Where they do that little lead solo that sounds pretty cool so far. And then he kicks in with his vocals. I love the drum beat and the whole segment, how it's building into it. And then he gets into that growling phase. So right now we're checking out Critical March from Deadman's Prophecy.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite songs by these guys. They're actually out of Quebec here in Ontario. And I got the privilege of, they've been on the show a few times. I ended up going to Quebec when they won the Montreal medal, online medal during the lockdown.
The Battle of the Bands, right?
Yeah, right. So they ended up taking the whole thing. I actually got they made me a member shirt and crew member and stuff, and presented me the shirt when I showed up for the thing, because I helped push and promote on my end, like what I could do, right? And then they actually do my festival in Maine now for us. This will be their second year in a row playing for us on that stage.
So you got your own festival that you're doing in Maine. Let's talk about that real quick with Deadman's Prophecy. Okay, so how did you build that festival in Maine, and what bands?
So during the reign of the Boneyard here, I got it was Kingdom of Nightmares and Thy Enemy came on the show. We got them booked. We had them on the show, and we actually got along so well. We got talking, and they were thinking of starting a thing every October. So they do like a little house party, and they kind of just play, but they wanted to make it a little bit bigger. So I tucked down the idea, well, why don't I come this year and I'll bring two bands with me, man. And then when Deadman's Prophecy came and played, they were actually the only ones who made it across the border. So
that had to do
kudos to them, right?
Yeah, that had to do with visas and all that coming into Canada, because Canada's got unique restrictions that, you know, I know that for a fact because I remember my first time in Canada, it was like, hell, man, they went back in the Interpol from when I was a kid, and I was like, no, man, hey, that's all sealed up. We don't talk about that,
Oh, it comes up. Everything, when I hit the border, I got the dual. So as
Right.
soon as I get to that border, I'm an American citizen now. They can't really deny me, but they always give me a hard time. I don't know. I'm like red flag like yourself. Boop. Talk to this guy. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, so they made it across, and the show went down without a hitch. So this year, my buddy Dave, who does the drumming that you were talking about there, he's in he's in Last Dance Amongst Wolves. So now they're ready to come across. They've got all their ducks aligned this year, so they'll be playing. And then we have another Canadian band, which we probably should hear one of their songs, man. Dead Velvet. So they're on the list this year, and then Thy Kingdom of Nightmares, and then Thy Enemy, and Kingdom of Nightmares. They're on the bill, and they're bringing another local band. So we actually got a few bands going now, right?
Oh, that's cool. I mean, so but then you still got the show in Apple Valley, California.
Apple Valley, California. Yeah, that was on a whim too. I was trying to line something up for next year. And Buddy was like, we have time.
You need to make your way down to like Arizona, El Paso, down to Texas from California. I mean, have you reached
Texas, out? Yeah, I'm good friends with Buddy from Cauterize there. And I've been trying to put together something with those guys, but they've been in and out with a couple of the members. They've been changing recently, taking a little break, but now they're getting back into things. Probably next year I'll have something going down in Texas again. So, or again, for the first time actually in Texas. But
and that's cool. But
yeah,
we should do something with Dead Man's Prophecy on Into the Pit. And that way. Yeah.
What I could do is set up, say, we do the November show. They're in Europe this year, so they couldn't make the November show, right?
But it's still perfect though, because of the Zoom meeting and the pre-recordings. We can do something with them. So reach out to them,
Dave was busy tonight. He was going to pop in, but yeah, he's stuck at work for right now. And then if he's available later and we're still doing stuff, I'll get him to swing on in. But definitely we'll have Dave from the two bands on. I'll get Gary on. I'll get them separated so it's just Gary and not all the other members because they get pretty wild and crazy. It's hard to interview them, but it's so much fun, man.
Okay, that'll work. Yeah, I'm getting messages on Facebook.
Oh yeah,
you already know how it is. I'm going to be doing an interview with a group from Korea. So we're going to have some Korean metal on Pure Metal Gods pretty soon.
Yeah,
and there's a couple other groups. One of the groups that I just did an interview was Gates Open. They just got signed to a label, Inverse Records. So congratulating them. And you know what? We're supposed to play them on the first Into the Bit. We're going to play them tonight, right now.